up, guys? Welcome to, I'm gonna say round, it's supposed to be round 2, but technically we skipped ahead to round 3. So welcome to Astrophotography round 3. If you watched the first episode where I was shooting the Lagoon and Trifid nebulae with the 70-200 f4 and my R6 and nothing. So that was kind of the beginner level. And then what I had said I wanted to do was then shoot it with the star tracker with the 70-200, same deal, and then step it up and shoot it with the 800. So we went straight to the goodness, and I've got, you can see the star tracker. So I've got the Star Adventurer 2i Pro package here, and I've got the counterbalance going. I've got the 800 and the R6, and everything is finally polar aligned and everything balanced and all the goodness. Something a little wonky, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty confident in my polar alignment is pretty solid, but for some reason I'm only managing to get 30-second exposures without, I got a few 45-second exposures that were okay, but most of them were displaying a little drift, and there's a lot of little things that could be going on with that, like tripod movement. There's not much wind, but there have been just the tiniest few bit of gusts. So final dialed in composition, we've got the 800, it's f11 of course. I've got 30 seconds, and just to be on the safe side, to get more keepers than not, I don't want to take a bunch of 45 seconds and have a bunch of them trash when I could just take more 30-second ones. 51,200 ISO. On the R6 though, I'm not having a problem because we are going to stack those. And everything's looking really great. So the Lagoon Nebula and the Trifid Nebula both just barely fit in the 800. It's a little bit long. It almost would be better to potentially focus on one at a time for these and then maybe put them together or just keep them apart. But I do like this composition. I think it looks preliminarily, I think it looks pretty nice. And what I want to do now is I'm going to finish taking up these, and then I'm not going to bother with darks, but I am going to try to take some lights, some flats. I'm going to try to take about 20 flats. And then once we get those, we'll jump back into the computer and I will show you, this time I'll go through the full edit so you guys can see like how I'm stacking them, how I'm putting the flats in, and I'm not going to bother with darks, and then how I'm editing the stacked image in Photoshop, and we'll go through all of that. So let's wrap it up here and let me finish getting all the goods, and then I will see you in a second back in the studio. Okay, so this video has just taken a very dark turn down a road of failure. I actually filmed the first part of this video back in mid-July, and it is now mid-August. I had a whole other idea and like direction for this video, and then when I realized how I messed up, I got really frustrated and I just closed the video, closed the project, just walked away. And I haven't done anything with it in about a month or so. And I was just going to go back out and redo it, just redo the whole thing. But the monsoon season is still going very strong here in southwest New Mexico, and it's been cloudy every night. And now we're at full moon, and it's still cloudy. So not a whole lot of things going for me, and I've just been really frustrated and really bummed out. So I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to show you guys my mistakes, or what I think my mistake was, and then I'm going to show you how I tried to salvage it. But I'm not going to show you a deep dive into the editing process because just isn't worth it. But let's just go ahead and jump into the computer and I'll show you what happened, how badly I messed up, how I fixed it, and what I think happened. All right, so let's take a look at this real quick. We're in Bridge and we can see I've sorted out some things. So when I opened everything here in Deep Sky Stacker and then did the stack and all of that stuff, let's come back out of here. This was the resulting TIFF file. So this is what I got. So you'll see some of this wonkiness up here where it looks like the frames, are not completely aligned. And that's due to just probably like the polar alignment and the drift overall over so many images. But what you'll notice right here is the big offending wonkiness. So this is where the Trifid Nebula is, but you'll notice all of these weird motions, all of the stars, and this swirly bit here, and this bit here. But then if you look over here to the Lagoon Nebula, I mean, that looks pretty darn good. We've got a lot of good nebulosity. We've got mostly sharp stars. And so like this bit of the image looks okay, but this whole half of the image looks absolutely horrible. So what I think happened here was some sort of field rotation. And I think that possibly I didn't have the star tracker tightened down properly with the 800. The 800, the way I had it set up, was kind of pushing the limits of the weight of the thing, so that really didn't help. But whatever it was, I really screwed that up and I haven't been able to get out and try it again. So this is what I did. Let's go ahead and open up. Let me find my PSD file. So let's go ahead and open up the PSD and I'll show you what I did. So this is the resulting PSD. It doesn't look that great, but this is all I could salvage. Alright, so I'm going to turn everything off. First things first, you can tell how much I cropped the image. So I'm basically cropping something like that, and that's a huge crop. That is way more than I wanted to crop with this. I didn't want to crop this image at all, really, except for to clean out some edge vignetting and stuff like that. But I really wanted this whole thing in the frame to have both nebulae in the frame. So for starters, we cropped a lot, okay? But then I just went through and I did my first round of stretching, and then some camera raw adjustments, and then another round of stretching, and then a round of color mixing, and then finally one more round of camera raw, and then one last thing. So here is the PSD and here's the resulting JPEG. One last thing I did was to D-star everything, so I took out a bunch of the stars to just help show that nebulosity, and I think that did a better job. What I probably should do is I probably should just go ahead and darken the edges. Because I noticed that the edges were too bright. So that just helps clean up those edges. Okay, so that was it. That was my failure. I still don't know what happened. I would really like to get out there and do it again and dial in my polar alignment, get everything locked down, and try again, and I will. But I think the main reason why I'm putting this video out is because I think astrophotography is, well, it's extremely rewarding. It's amazing. I love the stars, I love science, I love art, I love the combination of the two. And astrophotography takes a lot of science and a lot of art. And I just love it. I love staring at good astro images, but they're really hard to make. You know, I'm a pretty good regular astrophotographer, and by regular astrophotography I mean like wide angle lenses, not on a tracker, just a tripod, just Milky Way type stuff, astro type stuff. I've been doing that for well over a decade now, and I love it, and I'm pretty decent at it. But I haven't had this tracker very long, and I haven't been doing the long focal lengths on the trackers for very long. And I know the science behind it. I'm pretty good with astronomy as a science. It's one of my strong points. But astrophotography, when it comes to the trackers and all of that, I'm still like, I'm nowhere near the level that I want to be. And I feel like if I feel that way, there's probably a lot of you guys who feel that way too. And you know, the tracker's not that expensive. And if you already have gear and you want to, like, you know, a lot of people want to experiment with it, it's a few $100 to get the tracker. And relatively, I say that's not that expensive. It may or may not be to you, but if you've already got thousands of dollars worth of gear, it's not implausible to think that you could scrape up a few $100, get a star tracker, and then try some of the stuff that you see people doing, and then you realize how hard it is, especially if you don't know anything about astronomy, and you got to learn how to polar line, you got to learn about just the sky in general and the earth and all of this stuff, and there's a lot of learning going on. And then that's just for the tracker part, and then you get it all set up, then you got to learn a whole different style of photography. And then you get the worst part of it all, and you have to learn how to edit. And I'm still always learning how to better my astro edits, especially with the stacking and tracking and all of that stuff. And it's completely different from normal photography. And I think that's where, you know, people who stick it out and keep trying and get through one step of this at a time, the frustration is real. And it's definitely real for me. And I just figured that I wanted to show you guys, like, my frustrations. It's not always perfect. It's not always even good, you know, especially for me. But I'm okay with that because I'm constantly learning, and I love doing all of this. I don't like getting frustrated, which is why I walked away for a month from this. But I'm back, and I'm going to be doing it a lot more. And we've got... we're hopefully going to get out of summer soon and get into fall and winter, which are my favorite for astrophotography stuff, especially with the tracker. When the sky is better, there's more things that I'm interested in the night sky, and I've got a lot of motivation coming up. So I wanted to share with you guys, show you how things could go wrong, a little bit of how, you know, the editing looks and the setup and all of that stuff. And this is what I got for now. So we're gonna call this one a failure. We're gonna call it round 2, and we're gonna move on to round 3, and we'll see what happens. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I went over or didn't go over concerning this, leave those in the comments below, and I will definitely answer them. And if you made it this far through all of that ridiculous failingness, I really appreciate it. And hit that like button for me, because that's the best thing you can do for my channel. Also, if you really enjoy supporting the channel, you can check out the channel memberships, where I have behind the scenes videos, and I have a lot of extra editing videos too, where I go deeper, and I edited this Milky Way image recently, and I show you how I did that from stacking and editing and all that. So channel memberships are the best way to support your local creator, and I really appreciate all of you who are already channel members. I love you guys. All right, that's it. It's lunchtime. It's way past tea time. I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.